Hey everybody, it's Saturday evening and I've been down here tinkering around with my waterfall. So I decided I would take a break, and since I'm taking a break, I'm kind of standing back taking it all in myself, and I thought I would just get some video of this. I always like to capture everything sort of as I go along. I know some of my viewers will get annoyed sometimes that I just keep showing the same sorts of things over and over again, but that's just what's going on in the fish room. I just kind of keep you up to date with what's happening, and when I get working on a project, I tend to focus on that a lot, and everything else kind of goes by the wayside a little bit. So today I've been down here. It's been raining all day, and I've been running in and out, you know, going outside in the yard and collecting up little bits of moss and little pieces of that and so on and so forth. So I got all kind of little odd stuff going on. Don't know how long it's going to stay this way. Don't know if it will stay this way or if it'll change. I never really did find a way to disguise the hose at the top, but you don't really notice it anyway. It's just kind of water coming in, and you kind of have to look for it to even notice it's there. I took the log that was up there and I put some moss all around that. I don't know if enough moisture will get on that moss to keep it healthy, but I've got a little bit of dead nettles tucked away back there. That's actually in a small planter, so that should be able to continue growing and doing well enough. So I've also got some moss and some aquarium gravel and a piece of rock that is obstructing the water flow here, just enough to give me a little bit of overflow on this side. I did have it quite a lot more vigorous than this, and it gave me a complete curtain of water. It was really cool. I really liked it, and that was before I even put the Creeping Jenny up there. That was just the water coming straight down off the top. I must have had, I don't know, 8 or 10 individual little lines of water, you know, little streams of water coming down, and it was like a little rain curtain. It was beautiful, but it was really splashy and everything was getting wet. You can kind of see the front edge of the aquarium is wet, and if you look off to the side, everything over here is already wet. So I don't know how long I can keep this up. You know, you can kind of see all the little drips and splashes coming over here, but I need that to some degree because mosses like this are not like other plants. They don't have a normal root system, and they basically need to be in a place like this or even over here that will allow them to stay moist, and they kind of have to draw their water directly into the foliage or the leaves, if you will. Again, they're not really leaves. It's a very primitive plant, but what I'm hoping is with this crossover piece here, it's going to act like a wick and draw some of this water into this side. Plus I'm hoping to get some splashing going on over here. I've also got a little bit of the Creeping Jenny and some dirt tucked up under here, and I'm hoping that in conjunction with being down into the water, I know the plant won't create a wick effect necessarily, but if the plant is drawing moisture up from the tank, it might be enough moisture that it'll help keep that fern alive, that moss alive. And then of course I can always come in with a mister once a day or something like that. But I like to get stuff set up so that it does its own thing and I don't have to do a lot of work. Stuff that I got to come in with a mister, you know, once or twice a day to try to keep it, you know, its roots viable and stuff like that. That's just, it's not going to survive if that's the case. That's just too much of a pain in my butt. So we'll see how that goes. Again, this is all just me tinkering around, having fun. That's the whole point of all this. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I said, you know, he was looking at it, and I said, you know, the odd thing is, you know, by next summer, I'm going to be tired of this, and I'm going to be complaining about how big it is and how noisy it is, and I'm tired of water splashing everywhere. And by next summer, I'm probably going to be tearing all this down and starting on the new project because, hey, there's a 40-gallon tank right there, and I could be doing something with that. And, you know, so this is very temporary. It's just been fun to play with, and it's been fun to make and create. And, you know, I've just been enjoying it. So that's how I've been spending my Saturday. And if you watched my video where I went out in the yard and looked for some mosses and stuff, you will remember there was some fallen logs, and then like the, not the bark, but the sort of the outside layer was so rotten and breaking off. Big pieces of it were breaking off that already had lichen growing on it. So that's what that is. and it's just sort of tucked up in there. I got some moss kind of just covering the end so it doesn't look so abrupt. And likewise down here, this is some creeping Jenny. I've got it in a little cloth planter with some soil, and it's just kind of tucked up under there. So that should root in nicely and can continue to grow. And then of course you can see I've just got some mosses and that kind of thing. This is Java fern. I've got little odd bits and pieces of Java fern tucked around there. I know where it's really wet and splashy, and here is going to do fine. But places like this, within a couple days, this Java up here is going to be all wilted and dried. And what will probably happen is if I leave it there, we'll get new growth that'll come out, and it'll be viable above, you know, it can grow emergent. The stuff that's been growing underwater, that's probably going to dry out too quickly to go through the adjustment. It'll have to send up new fronds in order for it to be growing emergent like that. So we're probably going to see some transition with a lot of this stuff. It'll be interesting to see whether the moss even continues to grow or just dries up or just starts, you know, looking whatever. I don't know. Not even sure what this is. That's still in its planter. It's a little square disposable planter, but I've got it kind of hidden away behind some pieces of moss. This is just, you know, a little piece of moss just lying over top of it, but it's just in a little planter. I think this, I want to say this is a bromelade or some type of bromelade plant. They can deal with very dry conditions, but they also have little sort of pockets in them to trap water, and they can hold standing water. An interesting plant. I've got a few of those around the house upstairs, so it doesn't necessarily look natural in there, and it's definitely not native, but it looks interesting, and it's a very easy to maintain plant, so, you know, why not? It's in there. My flag iris here, I like it in the tank. I don't want it in the paludarium area. I definitely want it in the tank, but we're going to have to figure out a way to get it up near the surface. For now, I just piled a bunch of rocks up and stuck it in the corner like that, but what I'll do is I'll take a piece of coat hanger or maybe some stainless steel or some plastic even, and I'll make a little basket with a little double-sided hook to just go over, you know, and I'll just hook it over the side of the tank back here, and we'll actually have it, you know, kind of sitting tucked up against this. And let's see, we'll have more probably of that kind of effect, and we can lower this down into the water a little more so you don't necessarily see it so much, you know. So again, we got, that's not going to stay there. That's close enough. My little pile of rocks fell over on me. And then of course the creeping Jenny here is sort of to try to diffuse the water a little bit as it drips into the tank. But again, I'm still getting some splashing with that. And then nothing in the tank yet, but yesterday I tested the water, and two things about it. One, I had 1 part per million ammonia, so that means we are starting to get some ammonia developing, but no nitrites yet. So we haven't really gotten a cycle started yet to any capacity, but we are starting to develop some ammonia. The water also looked kind of green, and I'm assuming that was some of the food coloring still leaching out of the silicone. I was asked about that once and I said no, it didn't, because I hadn't experienced it before, but there were a couple areas where I saw that the water, like you can see how the water's like a little beads on here and it had been splashing. Let's see if this does it now. When I did this originally, yeah, you see how I've got some green color into that water. So we're definitely getting a little bit of the food coloring in the dye weeping out of the silicone, but it's just food coloring. It's harmless. I'm not concerned about it, but that is something that's happening, and that's why the water was so green. So I did a really big double water change today. I basically drained it down until the drain wouldn't drain anymore, and I filled it back up, and then I did that again, and I filled it back up, and that's the water we're now looking at. And on a final note, if you can kind of see that big square white thing in there, what that is a makeshift sort of filter that I've put around the pump. I took an empty container of isopropyl alcohol and I cut the end of it off, and then I sort of stuck the front end of the pump over it, and then I cut the bottom of the bottle off, and I just stuffed it with polyfill. So it's basically just drawing it down, you know, through the length of the tube and into the pump, and I've got all that polyfill in there. Is now my pre-filter. So when it starts getting clogged up, all I've got to do is pull that polyfill out, jam a new wad of polyfill in there, and my pump itself should not get clogged now, and I won't have to worry about, you know, any grunge or anything being pumped up to the top and then flowing back down and through. So I now have a filter system from a mechanical point of view. And then, as I said, the tank itself is going to be the biological filter, and we're just going to let all the everything grow in. So I'll probably either hide that, the tank, I haven't even started working on the tank yet. That's just a tank with some rocks in it. As far as scaping it out and making it actually look like something, I haven't even started yet. So that'll either get hidden, or I will paint that with silicone too, and I'll just paint it a dark green or something, and we'll tuck it away. I'll cut the hose to the proper length, and we'll get that hidden over there in the corner or something, and you won't even notice it. So we're getting there. It's definitely shaping up and starting to look a little bit better. As I said, this may or may not change. I don't know if any of this is going to be permanent. All of it certainly won't be permanent. I'm sure some of that is going to change, probably just by necessity. Some of it won't work out, or it won't look right, or it'll start dying off or something, you know. So make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss any of the changes that'll be coming up. I will be doing regular updates on this. As I said, this is kind of my little pet project I've been working on now, and I really kind of need to get it finished up. I'm to the point now where we're ready to get the tank cycled, so once that's ready, we'll actually start putting some fish and some crayfish and stuff in there, and it'll actually start being a fish tank rather than just the waterfall. So as I said, make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of that. So thanks for watching this one. Don't forget, it is my waterfall tank. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you real soon in the next one.